there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and you would not believe how excited I am to be sharing something really new with you. If you've been watching this channel for a while, and at least for the last year, you'll know that myself and Janet from Swirly Girly Reads decided it was about time that we started reading the books off our shelves and curbing our spending on books. It had just got a little bit out of control, especially with me, and I just wanted to get to those books that had been on my shelf, and so we started Shelf Slam. And basically Shelf Slam was a way of not buying books, pulling out a challenge every month which sort of focused our TBR, so it could have been like hardbacks or books released in 2016 or Read the Rainbow or whatever the challenges were. We pulled a random one out every month, we picked a TBR, and as long as we read as many books as we could in the month, the other one would buy the other one a book. And then the lovely Brittany from Under the Radar Books was really inspired by this and decided to join us, so we've been doing it as a 3 and I've loved it. But I've noticed since maybe August time that my interest in it has been waning a little bit. Books have started creeping into my household, and so we decided for 2018 we needed a new challenge. We needed to still look at the same concept, the idea of not buying books, but just make it fun again and reinvigorate this idea. And so 2018 is going to be the year of Bookopoly. So the aim of Bookopoly is to read the books off your shelves fundamentally, but those books that you're reading are going to equate to real money, to real savings and real amounts of money, which will be going into a pot to go towards a spending spree at the end of the year in December 2018. So although we won't be buying as many books and hopefully not buying many books at all throughout the year, we will have this pot of money, and I think if we complete all the challenges, which is probably not going to happen, the maximum amount we can make is like £320, which is a lot of money, and we would certainly not be spending all that on books. What we've decided is that in December 2018, myself and Janet will treat ourselves to a day out in London with lunch and some book shopping, and that will all be covered, the expense of that, including our train fares and stuff, by the money that we make during Bookopoly. So let me tell you a little bit about this. It's a little bit complicated, although once you get your head around it, it's not. And if any of you do want to join in, you don't have to do the same as us. You can follow your own sort of set pattern, but this is how we're going to be doing it. So if you know, on a Monopoly board you have different sets of properties. You have like the brown properties where there's 2, you have blue, red, green, and they're normally in sets of either 2 or 3. For these, rather than having properties, each of these colours is going to be a genre. Both myself and Janet are picking different genres for this because we wanted to pick genres that we either wanted to push ourselves to read, or the ones that are worth more points might be genres that we're less likely to read. So this is where we started to adapt it a little bit to ourselves. For me, the following are my different genres. For brown, I've gone for YA. For light blue, contemporary adult fiction. For pink, science fiction and fantasy. Orange, thrillers and crime. Red is historical fiction. Yellow is non-fiction. Green is short stories, and dark blue is classics. So the money that these equate to will be set by us because we needed to change it to make it a more realistic amount than the ones you normally get on the cards. But the basic idea, for example, let's take YA, where I've picked brown, which is where you get 2 properties. The first property, so the first YA book you read, you'll get 2p. The second YA book you read, you might get 4p. Then once you have 2 properties, you can start building the houses. So when you read another YA book, you will get a house, which is equated to a certain amount of money, and then the same and same. So you end that sort of colour genre when you have a hotel. And obviously you don't do all the YA and then move on to a different property. This is just to allow you to pick and choose your books how you want. So the TBR that you're setting yourself each month isn't structured. Say I fancy reading a historical fiction book. I read that book. Oh, I can just put a house onto that now because I've read that many, and I'll put a couple of pence into my jar. If you know Monopoly, you'll know there's also other things on the board. So So we've looked at those as well. On the board you have 4 stations, and we've decided that realistically we probably enter at least 4 readathons a year. So each of the stations is going to represent a readathon. For every readathon you take part in, you end up putting £2 into the jar, irrespective of whether you complete the challenges or how much you manage to read. For entering the readathon, for filming a TBR, you get £2. If you do manage to complete all the challenges, which for both myself and Janet is more difficult, especially for me now because I'm back at work, before I might have been able to hit them, but for both of us it's going to be hard, we will allow ourselves £5 if we complete all the challenges, which will then go into the jar. In terms of the chance and community chest cards that you find on the board, these are going to be worth different things. They're going to be different challenges, but you have to read at least one of these every month. The chance cards are going to be mainly the shelf slam topics. So if I'm at a loss of what to read, I need a bit of guidance, I want something to sort of poke me in the right direction, then I might pick up one of these cards. Here are what are on these cards. There's a get out of jail free card, which will become more apparent why in a minute. There'll be a free book token, just like it's your birthday, you get £10 off each player, which you normally get in Monopoly. For this, you will get the chance to just go out on a whim and buy yourself a book when you fancy. The challenges, there's hardback, a book released in 2017, a new to you author, a one-word title, a book set in another country, a diverse book, a book with your favourite colour on the front, a cover by, the next in a series, standalone, book to movie adaptation, start a new series, buddy read, a book. And it's your birthday, have a free choice. That's not to buy a book, that's a free choice to just pick whatever you fancy. For community chest, I'm not going to tell you my picks here because I think it will be a nice surprise later on. But for community chest, all of the books in there are books that I've bought because of BookTube. So I've picked 16 books that I've picked because of BookTube. And every time I pick one of those, the book will be on there and also the person that I found out about that book from. So almost it will be like a BookTuber shout out every time I pick up one of these cards. And then I will read the book and mention the person that had recommended it and made me want to pick it up. And obviously if I pick out a book and it's in the YA genre, then that book can then go towards building a house or a hotel or whatever in that colour category as well. I hope I'm not confusing anyone. There's a little bit more to go. So there is also the Waterworks and the Electric Company. Now myself and Janet run 2 readathons a year together. We do the Book Buddyathon and we've recently started Bookbusters. So we're going to run both of those in 2018 as well. And each of those will be, one will be the Electric Company and one will be the Waterworks. In case you want to get your diaries ready now, the Book Buddyathon is going to be the 9th to the 15th of April 2018 and Bookbusters is going to be the last week in September, which I believe is the 22nd to the 28th of September 2018. So for this one, we're going to do similar to what you would do on a normal Monopoly board. To run the readathon, we'll both roll the dice and you will get 10 times the amount shown on the dice. If you roll a 6, it will be 60 points. And again, if we complete the challenges for our one as well, we'll get an extra £5 to go in the pot. Each of us will hit free parking once a month, and that's just a case of us getting a book from each other as we have been doing. So we will buy each other a book off our Shelf Slam wish lists once a month to unwrap together and chat about. I should have said earlier, just to make it clear, you don't roll a dice for this Monopoly. You're not having to roll a dice and what you land on you're having to choose. This is just, in general, you just take your little piece to wherever it is you're reading the book at the time, so you dot about however you want. You only roll the dice with the Waterworks and the Electric Company in order to find out how much you're going to get to put in the pot. If you buy a book which isn't your Shelf Slam book for the other person in the month, and it's not one that you've got off your community test or chance that tells you you've got a free book token, you will be going to jail. In order to get out of jail, you need to read that book that you've bought straight away. It needs to be the book that you're reading now. You buy it, you read it. Or you have to read a book that someone else has picked for you. So you either read the book you've bought straight away, which will hopefully encourage us to read those books that we do really want to buy straight away, or you have to read a book someone else has picked. If you go on a book buying spree and you buy 8 books, you need to read all of those 8 books before you can get out of jail. If you manage to get a hotel on any of those properties, you get a bonus number of points, which is really exciting, and you get to put that in the pot. Any books you then read from that genre won't count towards any points, but you can still read them. They just won't count towards points on the board. And then finally, those dreaded tax squares. There's 2 on the board, and for these you have to read a book over 500 pages. If you read a book over 500 pages, then you can use a tax square and you get bonus points. You get £5 worth of points, and then you also can use these as many times as you want. So it's not just 2 taxes in the whole year. Every time you decide you want to use that one, you can get bonus points. So then you can sort of decide, if you've read a thriller that's over 500 pages, you can then make the decision whether to use it on your thriller square, your colour for that, or whether to use it as a tax, and then put your money in the pot. So in order to set this up, myself and Janet bought one of those do-it-yourself Monopoly boards where you can adapt the board to suit how you want, and this is what mine looks like now it's set up. Hopefully I'll be cutting to it now. As you can see, I've set up the different genres on the different colours, and I've done little pictures to help make it more enjoyable, and I am working on finding a really fun person to move around the board, so that I can be moving around the board. Then also, to sort of encourage me, and with my pot, I picked up a tamarind jar, and this one says spending spree. What I love about these is there's no way to get into them once you've put the money in. You put the money in the top, and at the end of the year you smash it open and find out how much is in there. Now, I have also created an Excel spreadsheet for myself and Janet to use, where we will just input each month what we have made, and it'll tot up for us so we have an idea of what is in the pot to help encourage us. But I'm really excited about this. Myself and Janet spent a long time setting it up. We met up, we had such a great day discussing it and deciding all the finer points, and I'm sure things will crop up as we start that we need to sort of fine tune. But I'm really excited about doing this. If you want to do this and you want to set it up for yourself, feel free in the comments to ask any questions. I'm really excited about this. I'm hoping it will just reinvigorate our no buying. It's complicated, as I say, to start, but once it's all set up, I feel like now I'm ready and I just want to get going. And I don't think I'll be noticing those sort of few pounds that are going in here as and when. I think that's the big thing about saving. You put a little bit in every now and again, and it builds up and builds up until you've got a nice pot of money for a really nice day out. And hopefully this will encourage me not to spend money buying books during the year. But if I do, then hopefully I will be reading them straight away and getting myself out of jail. Anyway, I hope this all made sense, and I'm really excited to get started, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Bye for now, BookTube.